So the IRS websites are a lot easier and clearer for explaining about the tax requirements and exemptions and even for registration. The thing is, when you're looking at registering for tax and VAT and having a tax number at all, or even being registered with government for anything, even if it's for a charity, which charities fall under philanthropic, a religious group, or political activity, or a business, an enterprise, commercial company, if it's small, if you are under a certain threshold, whether it's £80,000 or £20,000 a year turnover, you know, whether it's a business for making profits or turnovers or for charities for donations, and then there's another £5,000. There are different thresholds. If you are under a certain threshold, it's absolutely clear from IRS and in the UK, but it just explains it quite clearly on IRS, right? That you're not going to register with tax. You're not going to register with government. You're not going to file a company. You're not going to register a charity. You're not going to... You don't register with government. And this makes it clear here, right, in this sole trader, look, right? It's the best example to use it for business before even going to any political exemptions or charity exemptions or registering a charity or registering a political party or a democratic organisation or registering anything. Let's just use the business model for companies, because some people don't get this, right? So here, set up as a sole trader, right? So you must register for VAT if your turnover is over £85,000, right? Now, the thing is, you can run your own business, right? You can trade under your own name, or you can choose another name for your business. You don't need to register the name, right? If you're self-employed and if you run your own business as an individual, you can, for yourself, this is known as being a sole trader. You can keep all your business profits after you've paid tax on them. You're personally responsible for any of the losses your business makes. You must also follow certain rules on running, naming your business. But you must register for VAT if your turnover is over £85,000. If it's not, you won't register for VAT. You won't register at all. And further to this, if you're actually earning even less than that, if you're owning, it says on the government as well that as an individual making profits as an actual individual person, if your own profits as an individual in anything are under, I think it's about £12,500 now, you don't even have to pay tax or on anything on any of your profits, right? Now, as for this is the thing, right? if you're a sole, even if you are like a sole trader and you're under £85,000, you're not registered with VAT, and you don't have a VAT registered number or tax registered number. The thing is, if it's even less than that, if it's under £12,500 or whatever it is, I've actually just had a look at it now. You don't even pay tax on that at all anyway. And the thing is, you can still trade under your own name, right, as a person, your own name, or you can choose another name for your business, right? So you can, the things that you're doing as an individual, if you're just doing odd jobs for neighbours, right, and you charge them £5 or something, like every other week or something, and it's extremely small endeavour, you actually can either just say, your name, Bob Hopkins or whatever, or you can say, it's, flamboyant gardening. You can name it flamboyant gardening, and you can do business under flamboyant gardening and charge people £5 for doing the gardening, right? If you just do it like once a week or whatever, and you don't have to register the government that name or company or that business or anything, or even tell them that you're earning any money. As long as you know that you're earning under that certain amount, you don't have to pay any tax to the government at all on any of the money that you take whatsoever, right? So you can make a name up, even though your name's another name, right? You can make names up, and that refers to you doing certain things. So you might be John Hopkins legally, and you might be repairing someone's garden, but you can make up a name for that. You can say flamboyant gardening, but it's not registered with anyone officially, but that is what you can call yourself for doing people's gardens, taking money from them. You can take money from them and not pay any tax or anything if you're just doing very, very small jobs. Now, the thing is this, right? Let's get this into context because it's really, really important, this, right? If you want to, right? If on the basis of that it's very small, you don't have to register with government, you don't register your name, you don't register a trademark, you don't have to pay tax or anything, right? If you was a big company, a massive company, right, you'd have a registered trademark or a name, and might have a logo registered, your tax and VAT registered, right? Now, this is the thing. Now, if you yourself doing that gardening for £5 or whatever once a week, if you want to advertise that service, you can get advertisements printed. You can get small advertisements printed like flyers or leaflets, right? Now, notice, this is really important to notice with those flyers and leaflets. There are various printed things, handbills, small advertisements and so forth. You don't pay tax on those small flyer adverts anyway. But it doesn't matter whether it is Bob Hopkins doing £5 a week jobs, right? And purchasing those small advertisements, you don't pay tax on those adverts, right? Because they're zero rated. The item is zero rated when they're printed up, right? So he doesn't pay tax on them, but he doesn't give a tax number over because he hasn't got one. He hasn't got a tax number, and he's not going to have one, right? But the big company, the huge company, has got a tax number. It is registered. It might have a name registered and so forth. His name, Flamboyant Gardening, it's not registered. It doesn't have to be registered, and he can call it what he wants, even though he's another name, and he can take money off people, right? But it doesn't matter whether those small advertisements printed, whether he buys them for his little tiny local thing, or whether a massive company buys them to advertise that massive company. Those printed small advertisements, no one pays tax on them. No one, right? They're not paid tax on them. So even if the big company buys them, it could give a tax number over because it's tax registered and VAT registered, right? But it won't be claiming any tax back or need to give a tax number when the small adverts are not. They're zero rated anyway. So it doesn't matter. That highlights that it's got nothing to do with who buys them. It doesn't matter if it is Bob Hopkins with a little local Flamboyant Gardening or whether it's a massive company that's VAT registered with a VAT tax number. It's all about the actual leaflets. No one pays tax on them. No one. It doesn't matter who buys it. Or if a little girl buys them to advertise that she's having a jumbo sale, no one pays tax on them. And no one has to give over any details or explanation. All that matters is the person who's printing it, who's making the small adverts, knows that they are small adverts. When they look at them, this is a small advert, right? Now, this is the thing. That is when to make sure to clarify that it's about the item. It's not about who's buying it. It's got absolutely nothing to do with who's buying it when the item is zero rated. And that proves that the small gardener can be buying them, but he shows no tax number because he doesn't have one, right? Now, the thing is that so it's all about the item. Now, those small printed advertisements, or you can call them handbills, they can be called handbills and so forth. What happens if you print them on a post-it note? A post-it note is a pad, right? And across the top of a strip, across the top of all the post-it notes is adhesive. So you can put them on the wall, put them places so people can see them. It's convenient, right? But now, do you classify those as stickers or a notepad? Well, they've got a small amount of sticker on them, right? But people usually identify them as a notepad. Now, if you add more and more and more adhesive on the back, so instead of like a narrow strip, it goes to a thicker strip, then a thicker strip, then a thicker strip, then a thicker strip, until all of the whole post-it note is covered in sticker back, then you can say, now it's a sticker. But a sticker also, it doesn't have one identifying term, because what is printed or what actually the letters and wording of whatever you print onto it are determines what it is as much as the back. So if you print artwork on there, it's art. If it's an advertisement, it's an advertisement. If it's a handbill, it's a handbill. You can have, if it's an address to the public, like, Sharp Lane is closed, please don't use Sharp Lane, there's a diversion on, whatever, telling public people, about it, that's an address to the public. Now, the thing is that all those different things that you print onto it can reclassify its tax rating depending on the pure creative process of the ink. There's another creative process of putting sticky on the back, but notice when you only put one strip of sticky across the top of it, you're not really saying it's a sticker. You're still saying that it's just a notepad, a post-it notepad, right? Now, the thing is, right? Now, the thing is, the taxation is judged on the percentage of the item. What is the main purpose and use of the item, or the main percentage? It's actually they tell you on the government website to work it out in percentage, right? It's like weighing scales. This is true. The item, if it's more of an advert and less artwork, you can have artwork with no advertisement on it. It doesn't advertise anything, right? It's purely art. Or you can have an advertisement that has a bit of artwork on it, right? The thing is that artwork's zero rated anyway, it's supposed to be, and so are adverts. But, you know, but still, just for principle, to be classified as artwork officially, it would have to be more artwork than it is advertisement. Or you can have it more advertisement than it is artwork. You know, this is like, you know, posters or things like that. Now, if it's an advertisement that's got artwork in it and it's roughly about the same, it's as much an advert equally as it is an artwork, then it is absolutely central. On the weighing scales, it is balanced up. It's half part advert and half part artwork. But both artwork and advertisements are zero rated. So that won't affect the tax rating. Now, the thing with stickers is this. If it hasn't got any sticky on the back, it's not a sticker. But as you add adhesive to the back of it, notice that no one classifies post-it notes as stickers in shops. They classify them as notepads, stationery. They're not classified as stickers. They've got a strip of sticky across the top. As you add another strip, then another strip, then another strip, so it gradually becomes covered in adhesive, right? Once half of the back of the post-it note becomes covered in adhesive, then you start to say, is this a sticker? If you've got an advertisement printed on a post-it note and only the back of the post-it note, half of the back of the post-it note is covered in adhesive, then you can say this item, this thing, it's 50% a sticker. 50% of this item is a sticker. It's part sticker, part advertisement, right? Now, let's continue to transform the item on the back of it. So instead of just a little tiny strip across the top on a post-it note, when it's still clearly a notepad and it does not qualify as sticker at all, in all stationery shops, it is a notepad, right? If all of the back of the piece of paper let's cut it all in adhesive, right? It is now a sticker. But what is the other side of it? The face of it. Well, while it's blank, it's nothing. So you've got a sticker, paper sticker or plastic. It doesn't matter whether it's paper or plastic or not, right? The sticker is a full sticker, but it's not actually regarded as a anything on the other side. Now, this is where in the law you've actually got, you can have a sticker that's either white because it's just blank white, it might be white paper, or you can have a sticker that is purely blue. You just might get blue and paint it blue, or print one big blue square onto it. You've printed a sticker that doesn't have anything on the front of it, right? So it's definitely not an advertisement. it definitely is 100% a sticker. Now, if you print an advertisement on there that's not artwork, it's 100% a small advertisement. You've got an item which is on the front of it, on the face of it, the printing and ink is 100% advertisement, and on the back of it, it might be 100% sticker. So then what? How do you classify the overall item? Well, you classify the overall item as the back face of it is if the back face of it is in one classification, but the front face of it is completely in the other class. What you've done is you've actually split the item again, because by making 100% on the back and 100% on the front into two different classes, it's still 50-50. Instead of half of the back having sticky on it, right, having sticky on the back of it, it's like halves and quarters. If only half of it is sticker on the back, if just under less than half of the back is coated in sticker, it won't classify as sticker anyway. It will still be a piece of paper, a notepad piece. But by covering the whole back of it in sticky, right, you made all of the item into a sticker until you start printing on the front of it, and then you start to make it into an advertisement. But it's not 100% an advertisement because the back's 100% sticker. But it's not 100% sticker then, and it's never going to be 100% sticker. What you've actually got is 50-50. If you printed an advertisement on a sheet and the back's a sticker, it is absolutely, without doubt or question, it is 50% sticker and 50% an advertisement. So it is absolutely, completely and totally 50-50. So when it comes to the tax man, this is fact. This is absolute fact. When it comes to the tax man, it's 100% 50-50 each way. So it doesn't matter. Now, if you want to claim it for tax exempt, then you can. If you want to pay tax and, be stupid, then pay tax. But if someone else claims tax on it, then fair enough. If they want to pay the government tax on it, but why pay the government if you don't have to? Because it's absolutely 50-50. Now, that goes for all printed matter. It doesn't matter if you are a company or business, because if you're a company or business getting advertisements that have a sticker on the back, it's completely 50-50. Now, that item, you can claim as zero rated. You've got a right to do that. Absolutely clean cut 50-50. It could be either. It could go either way. It could go either way in law. Because it's 50-50, you can have that. You can have that. I mean, or you could, the thing is, what is the purpose of it? Is the purpose to be a sticker, or are you actually, I really want to advertise things with this, and it just happens to be convenient that it's a sticker that, if we want to put the advertisement up, we don't have to get sellotape or glue or drawing pins or whatever, because it's a convenience item. It's a genius item, an invention item, which is there to be an advert, but you don't even have to use it as a sticker. You can just use it as if it's a handbill, that's political. Now, the thing is, no one gives a VAT number over for that. No one. No one gives a VAT number up. It doesn't matter if you're a massive company trading in business, or if you're a gardener with a local service doing gardening for £5 once a month or once a week, right? If you want to buy those adverts and get them printed, the item zero rated, it's got absolutely nothing to do with who's buying it at all whatsoever, and no one will give a VAT number over because you don't pay tax on it. No one does, no matter who they are. Now, on that basis, let's bring charities into it. philanthropic and religious, and then there's political. Now, if you look at the IRS website, and check all the English ones, but it's clearer on IRS and American government, it states that nobody registers with government anything, any tax, any VAT, no registered company name. You don't register a logo or a mark or a trading icon with government. If you're under this, £80,000 turnover a year and £25,000 a year, you do not go to the government or tell them anything. You don't have to. And further to that, you don't actually have to register to declare officially to the government that you exist and that you're a non-profit, not for profit. It's like you don't have to go to the government and say, hey, I'm doing non-profit things, right? I'm not the gardener making £5 profit from doing gardening jobs. I'm going to collect some money for Help the Aged. I'm going to collect some money for Oxfam. I'm going to collect some money for a charity for an old people's home, right? And I'm going to give it away, right? Just a small amount, £100 a week or not £100 a week, but, 50 or whatever, right? It is for charitable purposes, and you give it to the charity. You don't register as a charitable organisation. You don't have a VAT number, nothing, right? And this is the thing. Now, for political organisations, on the basis and model that you are going to be getting a large number of donations, if you're getting like over £85,000 or £25,000 in donations running through, right? Even if you're not for profit, you've got to register with government as a political party or as a democratic organisation, because they want to know who you are and what you're doing with all that money, because it's a lot of money, right? Now, if you're not doing that, like me, if you're a petition, just doing a petition to government, it's for political purposes. Now, if you need to publicise the petition, but the thing is this, right? Like with a small gardening business, they don't need to know that they've told you. You watch your own affairs, and if you're not going over a certain amount, you don't need to tell them or register it, and you can call yourself what you want. Same with charities, right? Now, this is the ironic thing. If you are an individual petitioning Parliament or the government, right, I can draw or draft up a petition myself by hand, and I can walk around the neighbourhood and I can collect signatures for a change in government or in legislation, and I can even get notices made and printed to promote it and ask people to sign. I don't need to register it with government. I don't have to. I'm not a big political party, and I'm not a democratic organisation, and the amount of money that I'm spending or buying on promotional leaflets is very small. I'm not going to have a VAT number or tax number. Now, if you're doing it online, you've got the option. You don't have to do it in paper or hand or on change.org or 38 Degrees. The government offer, free of charge, they've got their own website, HM Petitions. You're registering one petition with them, right? And then you get a petition number. Even though it's very one thing and you might not be spending much money on it at all, but you can do if you want. You've gone to them to register it. You have gone to register it with government, and it is registered with government, but you're not going to register for VAT with it because it's only one cause, one campaign. It's like having one gardening job. If you've only got one gardening job or two, there's no point. Now, political parties aren't doing one petition. Not only have they got multiple cases, they've got multiple candidates and members all around the country, and they're getting elected into government, and they're doing a lot of things, and they're getting a lot of money and funding. So that's why they have to register, because it's over the threshold. You don't have to register. When you hand the petition in, you're telling the government, ultimately, right, if you've got a small business or charity and it is for those purposes and you're not lying and you give the money to charity and you get small adverts for it, the small adverts, they're meant to be zero rated anyway because it's an advertisement on printed matter. And even if it's a sticker, it's 50-50. The front face of it is an advert and the back face of it is sticker. It's 50-50. And if you actually, it's definitely there to promote the campaign and you're not bothered about it being a sticker, that's just an added bonus, then it's going to be a small handbill and a small advert. And it doesn't matter whether you're a registered charity or not if you have a charity number. You don't have to even have a charity number, but you're allowed to buy those things and they're zero rated no matter who you are, even if you're going collecting charitable donations just round the village. Now, you never have to go to the government and register for that, and you never have to go to the government to register for a business if it's very small. But get this, with the petition, I'm not a democratic organisation. I'm not a registered political party. Notice that there's one different thing with the petition. Even though on IRS it says if you're running any monies or buying things or using things for anything under £5,000 a year, even political, they don't need to know about it and you don't need to apply for exemption. But the thing with a petition is this. The petition, you can not tell the government. You can not tell the government because the petition, its sole purpose, its sole existence is to give to the government, hand them in and lay it to them what it is. So at the end of a petition, regardless of whether you do it on the government's website online and get a little fancy number, then it is government registered, but it's not tax registered because your activities are unlikely to be over £5,000 a year or anywhere near anything. And that is the basis of having numbers and VAT registration on the basis of how much you're doing. How large are your operations? And really, those materials, when it's for small advertisements and handbills, it doesn't matter because they're all zero rated regardless, and it doesn't matter who's buying it. Even if you've got, this is the thing. And if you write your petition in hand, it's going to be handed into the government anyway. The government it's going to be handed in, even if it's not registered online at the end. So you can't not tell the government about it, and if it's only small amounts of money going through or small amounts of things that you're buying, the thing is, in law, you can buy as many leaflets as long as they're small advertisements as you want anyway, because they're permanently zero rated no matter who you are. So it's kind of like a no-brainer. And also I thought there was a bit about plastics as well. I thought it treated plastics differently, but it says here the format of the group 3 items, right? The words in group 3 are used in their ordinary everyday sense. This means they are restricted goods produced on paper and similar materials such as card, but see paragraph 3.7. Most items qualifying for the zero rating will be products of the printing industry, including items printed in Braille, but goods which are photocopied, typed or handwritten will, in some cases, also qualify. So this is, you've got to kind of like use your own judgment. And it also says that it's debatable, but there's a percentage, what is the main purpose, and it's all about percentages. Now, some people are refusing to take the VAT off, or they're demanding a tax number or VAT number. You don't have one. There are there are a whole variety of people who might want to buy printed items, that the item is manufactured, qualifies for 0 rating, and that has got nothing to do with who's buying it. You only need tax and VAT numbers if you're tax and VAT registered, because those are the only people who need to register for tax. No one needs to register for it if they're small or tiny. That doesn't mean that they don't have a right to and wouldn't want to or need to buy 0 rated items, because it's in the item. It's all to do with the fact that they haven't got a number because they're tiny, they're small, they're insignificant. But and also qualifying for charities and political things, it's actually irrelevant now looking at this, because when the item qualifies for things like handbill and small advertisement or even artwork, it's irrelevant. It's 0 rated, and I don't know why companies have got it into their head that if something's for a charitable cause or something, they've got to have a VAT number or they've got to have a charity number. They don't, because that's for large companies. Large companies have got to have a tax number. Large companies must have a VAT number. Large companies must be registered. Small ones don't. You aren't. But that doesn't mean that to say you don't have a right to buy things and you don't have to pay VAT. It means that you're not registered for VAT. Whether or not you pay VAT or something or not is purely on whether the item is taxable itself or not who's buying it. Goods containing text in other formats, well, you can have sheets of things as well, different mediums. Interesting types of paper or fancy paper like glitter paper or whatever, as audio or video cassette or CD, ROM are standard rated. This includes the storage and distribution of text by fax, email, microfilm, or any similar process, transcripts or printouts made of such information, or any similar transcripts of or printouts made of such information are 0 rated if they are supplied in the form of books, booklets, brochures, pamphlets, or leaflets, as defined in Section 3. Supply of certain e-publications. So, you know why that is? Because you can't see them. They can only be. You have to play them in a machine. You can't, because it's not regarded as a visible form of print, right? A visible form of print is one you can see with your eyes, right? It says when they're printed out. Once they become printed out, you can see them and it is visible visually. So it basically refers to visually visible print, because all those things, microfilm, cassettes, microfilm fax, it's not an actual visible to the eyes. It's like you have to put it in a machine and press play. So it's actually a physical item itself. It's like it can't be read. The print can't be read. A cassette can only be played by a machine, a microfilm, and so forth. A human can't read it with its eyes. So this is like clearly visible things that are to be looked at in print and read with the eyes, not translated through a machine medium, which the meaning of the individual items are explained in detail here. Whether a particular item falls within those meanings depends mainly on its physical characteristics and functions. So that's why I just described then. So you can see it. But to a lesser extent, but this is now to a lesser extent, on its content. So the content is actually what it's talking about when it describes things. So that's less important than its physical characteristics. The physical characteristics are, can you read it? Basically, is it a flat surface or, crimped, or, if it's artwork, it might be scaled or something. It might be a collage or made out of sequins or something like that if it's a collage. Or the paper itself might be like microscopic chainmail paper. That is the medium of it. So they're saying that the physical characteristics are more important than what's actually than what's. However, some of the physical characteristics that apply to printed matter will not apply to e-publications. Normally, these consist of text illustrations bound in a cover. So this is books, in language, braille, photocopied, type handwritten, found in booklet form. Suppliers of any of the following are 0 rated: literary works, reference books, directories and catalogues. Well, literary works, that's, education or just information and writing and so forth. Doesn't say whether handwritten or printed or what. Antique books, collections of letters, documents, permanently bound in covers. Well, the thing with the petition is also, when you're doing a petition, you're collecting many signatures on it, so it's gonna grow and expand and have a lot of things anyway. Really, you could say that if you're doing a petition, right? If you're doing a petition and you get 100, this is the thing, right? If you get 100 sheets done to advertise a petition, right? They're all the same thing, for the same document, for the same thing. And this is one of the laws. This is one of the laws in the referendums thing, that all sheets of petitions, ultimately you're going to collect them all back in if people are going to sign them. But even the adverts for the petition are considered as part of the same. It's part of the same material. But I wouldn't say it might not be permanently bound, but at the end, I guess it will be bound because, at the end of the petition, you got, if people are going to sign it, they send them back in and they all get collected back together again, theoretically. There's additional legislation under the right to petition that people are overlooking, which is the right not to be held to any commitments in law, and that's in statute law, which means that you're not held to any commitments by acts. You're exempt. This includes the VAT Exemption Act. I don't know why people don't get it. You can't be charged a fine or a fee or a taxation for doing it, or all the things that you're doing for it. Institute law. That is the one thing that some people don't believe in it. And it's actually, it's not just in getting things made and printed. It's like even when you're, going and doing the protests and the actions and some of the legal issues, the police are even getting it wrong. It's like with Angela Ditchfield getting prosecuted. We're on the same level as Max Hill with the criminal damage charge with Angela Ditchfield, which he completely ignored 2 acts of law. The Town and Country Planning Act, which are the exact acts which say that provide legislation for what she did. It's like, when you're normal people who've got businesses and they're providing, things that you're printing out, if they don't believe in or agree with the Right to Petition Act and the statute, it's almost like they're disregarding the law. They don't want to hear it or they don't want to believe it when it is. And that's not for charities. It's not for religions, and it's not for businesses. That is one thing for specifically petitioning the government. Amendments to zero-rated loose leaf books, even if issued separately. All right, so that's like a petition. Amendments to 0-rated loose leaf books, even if issued separately. Well, a petition's issued separately, but it's all one part of a thing, isn't it? There's some things in this that there are people of a certain intellect who that they're not going to understand it. It just doesn't. It's just not. You have to, to understand it. Some people can drive past somewhere and go, "Oh, that's pretty," or "It's beautiful," and someone else just say, "I don't know why you like that. I can't see why you like it." And reading this is like that. They can't see. It's complete. It's to do with you've got to see it and understand it, and it's subjective part of it. If you don't get it, I mean, the only way that they're going to get it, they want some official person with some authority to say yes, it's right, and then it's right, But yet in law, in the jury, in the court, like in the Ian Bray case, by letter and word of the law, you are judged, or by the opinion of your peers who completely disregard the law. It's kind of like that. You're trying to convince them to do it, that it's right. And if they're not going to agree with you, you're struggling. Some people just get it straight away. And you have to try and find, I have to find someone with authority, someone with authority. Not all people with authority get it. It's the government are at fault because some of it they're purposely making it difficult to guess, almost like blunting the hook so people won't catch on, kind of like on purpose. Schoolwork books and other educational text in question and answer form are 0-rated because the spaces provided in the insertion of the answers are incidental to the essential character of the book or booklet. The same applies to exam papers in question and answer. Well, look, this is like your petition, question and answers. You're writing it yourself. You're putting a question to the people. Do you think that we should change the tampon tax law? And then people sign it and say, yes, I agree. The same applies to exam papers in question and answer format, provided they qualify as books, booklets, brochures, pamphlets or leaflets. Well, this is the same as your petition. But supplies of the following are standard rated: books, plans, drawings, architectural, engineering, commercial or similar processes, books of plans, picture card and stamp albums, unless they contain substantial amount of reading matter, complete stamp albums, products that are essentially stationary items, for example, diaries, address books. Just a minute. Supplies of the following are standard rated. So, products that are essentially stationary items, for example, diaries, address. So, that would, that would qualify. That means that those post-it note things, those like post-it note pads, they are standard rate, but they're not saying that they're stickers. There's a whole range of stationary items. Now, they're blanks. Stationary items are blank and unprinted on when you get them. They are blank, so you actually print them on and make them into something. You make them into a letter, or you make them into art, or you make them... When you do that, then they do fall into the other category. But so they're not even saying that a post-it note with a small part of it is a sticker, right? They're not saying that it's a sticker, but not on the basis that it's got sticky on it. It has got a sticky on it, and it is a sticker. You stick it to something, a post-it note. You stick it to a wall just like a sticker, or you stick it to your mobile phone, or you stick it to the fridge. It's a sticker. The reason they're giving here that it's not zero rated is because it is blank and it is not written or printed on, thus it is not transformed into one of the other categories that are zero rated. It's a blank sheet. A post-it note's a blank sheet. You could have a post-it note that half the back of it all the way down the post-it note, right, is got sticky on it, right? So it's not a sticker. And I actually starting to think now that the thing is that stickers, like you go into a stationery shop and you get like red dot stickers, they're all standard rating like stickers, but not because they're stickers, also because they're stationery. But it doesn't matter whether it's a sticker or not. Notice the thing with stationery, right? If you get a round red circle, right? A round red circle. Now, if half of the back of it is covered in sticky, you could say it's like a post-it note pad of red circles. But it doesn't matter whether all the back's covered in sticky, it's a sticker, standard rate, or half of it, it's only like a coloured circle stationery pad. It's still standard rate. They're both standard rate, stickers or stationery, when they're blank. But stationery, I can go to the... It works like this with the stationery and the post-it notes, right? Those a pad of post-it notes, right? If I go into the stationery shop, right, or to the suppliers, if I go to a warehouse and buy a pallet full of post-it notes that only have one strip of sticker across the top of them, right? And I go to a factory, even if I buy them at trade price, right? That's stationery items, and they are stationery items. They're post-it notes. It's stationery. You could say it's a sticker, but you're not gonna, because only it's got a small bit of sticker on it. But as a stationery item, it's not zero rated. What makes it into a non-zero rated item is what you print on it. Because all and any stationery becomes a zero rated item if you make it into an advertisement or a handbill. All of them. All stationery items. Particularly if a pad of post-it notes can be made into advertisements. So it doesn't matter whether they're stickers or post-it notes. But when you transform post-it notes into an advertisement, they're not standard rate anymore. You've manufactured small advertisements or even small handbills, and it can have a sticker on the back of it and a post-it note. These are not defined. Look, brochures and pamphlets. These are not defined in law. This is really important. They're saying some things are not defined in law as well. Brochures and pamphlets, right? Now, you can have something that is defined in law. This is important. They're saying that there are certain specific things that are actually defined in law. Well, actually, in the Tax and VAT Act, when you're doing something for a political purpose, you don't even have to be registered in the VAT Act. It never says that you do. All you have to recognise it's for a political purpose, right? I'll tell you one thing that is defined in law. A petition to the King. A petition to either of the Houses of Parliament. That's defined in law. And that one thing, the petition to either of the Houses of Parliament or the King, is defined in law. I can tell you. It's defined in law. And it's defined separately from a charity. It's defined separately from a religious organisation and activities, unless they're petitioning. the king to get, Archbishop of Canterbury removed or something. And it's separate from all business things. It has an explicit and specific definition in law. It is defined in law as a petition to the government. So therefore, you can make stationery into a petition to government. You can make them into a handbill. You can make them into a small advert. You can make it into artwork. Those are all defined in law. The petition to the government also uniquely and separately is defined in law. And it has provisions in that law. The provisions are you cannot be prosecuted or held to any commitments of other acts, which includes the VAT Act. It's unique. Elections ought to be free. You can't be charged for elections in the Act. In the 1688 Bill of Rights, it talks about being charged for things. The right to petition, you can't be held to any commitments or anything. A charge is a fine. A fine and a charge can only come through illegal action, a legal process to collect a fine or a charge, which you can't be fined or charged. This is it. It is defined in law in its own specific statute act, of which all other acts must be compatible and comply with, which is where whenever you've got a petition to the government in any act of law, like with political activities, that's why they enact and write the exemptions. It is defined in law. Petition is defined in law and has provisions of law which apply to it. Look at this. Pamphlets are similar. Brochures are not defined in law, but brochures and pamphlets. Pamphlets are similar, but usually comprised of material of a we've got the word. This is the first time I've noticed the word political, social, or intellectual nature. Well, intellectual is education. Pamphlets are similar, but are usually comprised of material of a political, social, or intellectual nature. Single sheet brochures and wallet type brochures designed with a flat may be 0 rated, provided they convey information. They're allowed to be 0 rated, right? As long as it conveys information, contain a substantial amount of text with some indication of content, so indication of what or of the issuing organisation. So the issuing, well, if it's a petition to government, it's issued by you. You issued it. You are the human, the person. You have the right to petition the government. You are an individual. You issue it, and not primarily designed to hold other items. So this is the thing. It's not political here. Now it's saying usually pamphlets aren't defined in law, but we have got a definition in law for petitions, in the right to petition, and that definition. It wants you to find where something is defined in law in order to know whether it's 0 tax rated or not. Find where the petition is defined in law. The place where the petition is defined in law is the right to petition. And in Standing Orders 145A of Parliament. And also it's defined in the Town and Country Planning Act when you place these petitions and notices in public using law. And what the law says is it classifies into Class F any document, any advertisement which uses an enactment in law. Well, the right to petition, this is saying, well, how are you defining this Class F advert? It's defined by what law you're using it, what defines it, which is the right to petition. It's defined in law. So, pamphlets, but the political nature doesn't have to be a pamphlet. As long as it conveys some sort of information for the political material, and it contains some text and an indication of what the contents are, and supplied complete. Leaflets, it's saying, are not defined in law. Right, the thing is, right, it's saying a leaflet is not defined in law, right? But a petition is defined in law. Because a petition it has a legal definition. It's got one. It's got a definition in the Local Petitions and Referendums Act 2011, and it's got a definition in Town and Country Planning Act. It's got a definition in the right to petition. It has a definition in law. It is defined in law. So therefore, it's not a leaflet. In fact, its definition in law is a petition. Now, what people will be saying is that, oh, well, it's not described in this act. It tells you. It's saying things have to be rated on what their legal definition is. The legal definition of a petition is a petition in the right to petition. And it has a provision in law with it that charities don't have. Because its provisions are that can't be held to any commitments or charges or fines or fees. So how can you be charged tax on it? It's extremely, extremely refined and specific and unique. In fact, I really don't even want to have to debate it with Revenue and Customs, because I've claimed people get this and people understand it, and I've got people to agree and they know. You either understand it or it's down to understanding. Leaflets consider a single sheet of paper not greater than an inch of A4, but still the leaflets, is it artwork or is it a leaflet? It's not a leaflet when it's blank. Let's get this right, yeah? If it's blank, we're talking about what is it when it's printed as? And they're saying when it's printed as a leaflet. Otherwise, if those leaflets are blank and you walk into a stationery shop, you're just blank sheets of paper that's defined as stationery. So they're not going to be zero rated. When the leaflet is printed, this is the thing. If I did that both sides are intended to be held in the hand and for reading by individuals. Well, a sticker, when you don't want to stick it, and you don't have to stick it, and you're not going to stick it, when you just want it to convey the information, is intended to be held in the hand and passed between people and read, and conveys information. It's got the added advantage, like a post-it note in stationery, that if you want to stick it to something so people can read it to convey the information, they can. Supplied in sufficient quantity of at least 50 copies to permit general distribution. Well, this is what we're doing when we're getting petition adverts, small advertisements and handbills for the petition. We are going to supply them in a sufficient quantity, at least 50 copies. Well, I'm ordering 150. I actually should get 1,000, really, to permit general distribution, which is why it's going to be a leaflet or small advert, because you're going to be distributing it to people. I printed on limp paper. Well, the backing paper's limp. That doesn't mean to say that that's just for leaflets. A petition is a petition. Will either be of an ephemeral nature design. What about the book? What about the books that are zero rated, that have got plastic coating on the covers. They've got zero-rated books on here that have got plastic coating on that fall in the zero-rated, and Bibles. They've got religious books, Bibles that are all got plastic coating on the covers of the books. Otherwise, be of an ephemeral nature, designed to be read a few times and thrown away, or be designed to accompany some other product or service, for example, an instruction leaflet. Items printed on stiff paper and card are not automatically excluded from the definition of leaflets, but we do regard the use of stiff paper and card as an indicator what the items have a function which would... But we do regard the use of stiff paper or card as an indicator that the items have a function which would exclude them. Items printed on stiff paper or card are not automatically excluded from the definition of leaflets, but we do regard use of stiff paper or card as an indicator. It's only an indicator that items would have a function which would exclude them, but that doesn't mean to say that it doesn't exclude them. This is general. And you've got to take all the rest of it into account. The fact of it's conveying information and so forth. For example, the item's main function was designed to be kept to use for a specific purpose in its own right, rather than as an ancillary to another supply. Well, that means like if it's on the back of like if you've got like a notepad or something with like a back thing to hold them in place, or a clipboard, would not be a leaflet. But we're not claiming the petition are leaflets anyway. We consider items printed on laminated are designed to be kept, and therefore not leaflets. But orders of service are not normally designed to be kept and may be zero rated, right? So if it's actually got plastic or lamination on, like stickers, basically, it includes a sheet, right? Orders of service. So when you're doing petitions under standing orders of Parliament, they operate under standing orders of Parliament in service to the public when you're doing petitions. So that's orders of service, but maybe zero rated. Where you're getting witness statement. You're operating in service of the public, collecting signatures to get a change in government. So are not normally designed to be kept and may be zero rated. Because it's an order of service. Because it is something that is official and important. Actually, items that may be otherwise considered leaflets, brochures, that is the part there what says that it can include lamination or a plastic film to it. That is there when it can. So orders of service are allowed to be laminated and printed and can have film on. Well, that is for funerals. So that's a religious, official religious service. So if you can have notices and distributed out there that are laminated and covered in. You're allowed to have it in plastic as well, which have got a laminated film on, or a film which have writing and print on it. So at funeral, if you can do that for the funeral, then you can do it for a petition to government. I can guarantee you that, because there's no orders of service that have a specific definition in law under the right to petition. That's for certain. So if you can do it for the funeral service, orders of service, you can do it for the petition to government if it's laminated and plastic and given sign or notice. That's for certain. Order of service.